bases dropped. We start another end of the week. I guess that's what they could call this. It's another Friday here at Soccer Down Here. John, here, you there. Thanks for hanging out with us. And it is a weekend where you, Atlanta United fan, get to watch everybody else. And I know that that's a bit of, a bit of angst and anxiousness while trying to wish for draws and losses around you. But nothing happening for Atlanta United this weekend, but we will in hour number 2. We will do the Weekend Whiparound, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. For those of you that watched on social media this morning, you got the chance to see who's going to be joining us in hour number 2. Golden ticket holder Jessica Charman's going to be hopping in, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things. It'll be the college game. It'll be Major League Soccer. It'll be what's going on at Reading. And that's why I broke out my Scunthorpe stuff this morning, because of what we talked about yesterday to end the show involving a team in the 6th tier. Jess's team that is in several tiers above mine, one of the trusts that I'm a part of. They're going through their own new round of ish. We'll get into that, and we'll talk about what's going on with her as the diehard Reading fan and anything else that comes to mind. So it'll be a good conversation with Jess, and we'll end the show with Weekend Whiparound. Hopefully we can catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, unless they are like traversing the planet like they always do. So we'll see if we'll see if we can figure out where they are, and hopefully they can join us at 9:30 as they traditionally do. And morning, everybody. And we'll go over a lot of different things as we go here this morning. Kickoff has to do with your wallet. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. We got the news of the morning, all the stuff that is happening, getting you ready for the weekend. Your traffic is later today after the show. Prem and Proper will be released early afternoon to get you ready for the Premier League weekend. And Drew Dickinson will give his Drew Dickinson diatribe, otherwise known as the 3D. So 3D will be a part of everything. And we will be getting into all of that. So plenty of stuff to get into this morning. So whatever's on your mind when it comes to the world of soccer, we'll be getting into all of it. So like I said, whatever's on your mind. But opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Let me see if I can do this and figure how much of the QR code I have to cover up right there. All right, that's your QR code for hour number 1. Your QR code for Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Thanks to everybody who has been using Kickoff Coffee to kick off their day. See what I did there? And in turn, if you use the code SoccerDownHere15, will give you 15% off your purchase. They will, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I'm going to pull down my hand for hour number 2. So if you guys don't have 2 QR codes, then all that stuff. All right. Now, when you have folks who are the best on the planet, you might have to pay the piper at some point. And I'm thinking that this might be that time for Miami. Ticket prices came out yesterday for our friends in Fort Lauderdale. And they are not the same as they are this year. Not the same at all. Bam, happy grand final day. Yeah, I'll be up late tomorrow. Well, yeah, I think we get home in time from college football to watch the grand final. Looking forward to it. Inter Miami released their season ticket prices for all of those things. So it ain't cheap if you wanted to renew your season tickets. It ain't cheap. Here's what our friend Michelle Kaufman at the Miami Herald had to piece together in all of this. I know. Kev, did we all get raises from Messi? can't cover 500% increases. So here's what it is in Miami. And remember, Miami is dealing with a 22,000-seat stadium with the temporary bleachers in the corners. They've really got to figure out. And I know that this happened too late in the year to try to figure stuff out, but they've got to figure out ways to get things to Hard Rock. They really do. Or Marlins Park, any place. And it's also climate controlled if they get to Marlins Park. You won't have to worry about the downpours. But you got to find a bigger venue before your own facility, which I think is still too small, gets built on the golf course near the airport. So, short version from our friends at Sports Business Journal. And we'll get into the larger versions. Thank you, Bam. See you Monday. We'll talk grand final. Inter Miami, in most cases, have doubled season ticket prices. Cheapest season ticket this year in the North Stands was $485. That same section will be $884. So almost double. A $3,600 ticket in the lower level, shows you where my mouth is this morning. A $3,600 ticket in the lower level midfield club section for the current season is now going to cost $76.50. Season ticket holders who want to switch to a cheaper seat can do so and get priority for other sections. Inter Miami's new ticket prices are in line with other U.S. pro sports, and I think that that's the thing that we have to kind of keep an eye on here. According to our friends at Inter Miami, they're in line with other sports. Cheapest season ticket was $485. That was $28.50. $52. I mean, that's not bad. Your get in season ticket, $52 a game. For those that are Atlanta United season ticket holders, this is what I would like to ask you this morning. And you don't have to tell me your entire price. I don't want everybody to know how much you're paying for season tickets. But if you've done the math, just as a comparison study, right, different if it's NFL with 10 games, baseball with 81, and 17 plus probably a couple for Atlanta United. So say 20 matches that you have available to you. 52 a game is the cheapest season ticket down in Miami. $450 a game. And like I said, I want to take this in the soccer purview in and of itself. Like I said, you guys don't have to tell me what you're paying, but if you know what your average is, drop that math in. $52 a game for the cheapest season ticket. $450 lower level midfield club. That includes access to a lounge area, premium food, beverage options. Premium loge packages, once again, this is from our friend Michelle Kaufman. Premium loge packages being advertised at $42.8 to $45.9. Basically the price of a BMW, I think. $42.8 to $45.9. Michelle goes and compares with other sports, although I don't know if you can necessarily do that and go apples to apples. Average NFL ticket in 2022 was $112. If you're looking at 10 games for NFL, if you double that, you're kind of in the zone for Major League Soccer. So if you cut that in half, that's $56. $56 on average if it was laid out for 20 games. Season tickets ranging from $300 to $4,500 for 8 home games. Then you get the 2 exhibition games as a part of your deal. Average NBA ticket, $94. NBA season ticket packages ranging from $1,200 to $82,000. Although who in their right mind would pay $82,000, $2 a game, plus the exhibition games that are going to be tacked on? $30 a game to $2,000 a game. Obviously, it's understandable that social media went berserk yesterday with a lot of unhappy season ticket holders down in Miami. Email from the club. Here's what the email from the club said yesterday. As a valued season ticket member, you are the heartbeat of Inter Miami CF. Thank you for your continued support over the previous seasons in the unforgettable 2023 season. Some of the highlights include bringing world superstars, Lionel Messi, Sergi Busquets, Jordi Alba, seeing some of the young talent develop, make amazing plays, as in the case of Benjamin Kromoski, David Ruiz, and Noah Allen, as well as deep runs in the Open Cup and bringing the first trophy in club history, Leagues Cup, as we look to continue elevating our club to new heights alongside our loyal supporters. We're excited to announce your 2024 membership information. Access to exclusive members-only events, including the annual Football Fiesta, open practices, members-only watch parties, discounts, team store concessions, priority access pricing to other events that drive pink. So Ricky, on average, is paying $34. So if we were to double that, say for National Football League, $68 a seat, average NFL tickets $112 for those 10 games. Like I said, I'm taking the 17, applying it to 20. And so, or did I run the math the wrong way? But anyway, so that's what you're staring at right now with Inter Miami. You figured there was going to be a day where you had to pay the piper, because while the league and the league sponsors are assisting in the idea of bringing in Lionel Messi, then Messi and friends, and this will continue, you're not going to be able to continue to watch these stars at the 2023 prices. So it is understandable that Inter Miami has to try to make up some of the dollars outside of just at the merchandise tent, like selling a white jersey that they would never wear. This, you figured, was going to happen. And I think we are in the sticker shock section. We are in the sticker shock section of this particular idea. What I will be interested in going forward is what the renewal percentage is for Inter Miami season tickets. Because, I mean, remember, cheapest get-in season ticket price is $52. Ricky's paying $34 for his. Of course, also, we are in a venue at Mercedes-Benz Stadium that is about twice the size on average than what you're seeing at Drive Pink. So you're looking at supply and demand plus size plus what you have on hand when it comes to the roster, and you got to pay for your roster. I know I can't sit here and complain or compare what's going on with the Braves, say, versus Atlanta United. Because, once again, as David pointed out, it's 81 dates plus playoffs plus anything else they want to tack on to your season ticket, plus parking, plus all these other amenities that they're attaching to it. That's a different number of dates. I think if we looked at it from the prospect of season tickets in Major League Soccer, I said, Ricky's paying $34. And like I said, thank you for volunteering. But the idea that get-in is $52 for a building that is half the size, you kind of sit there and maybe you can make an idea that it would be less if there were more seats. So once again, this falls to Inter Miami and only having a building that seats slightly over 20,000. Let me get that number really quickly because I know that's going to drive me crazy if I'm not going to have the capacity right there in front of me. And Pars is in this morning. I'll get to that coming up in just a sec. 19-1 before the temporaries came in. Now it's 21,000. So Atlanta United at Mercedes-Benz in the lower bowl is twice the size of Drive Pink. And you're paying $34. Drive Pink is 21, and so you're paying $52 for the get-in season ticket price. So Pars with the question. Ricky did the math. He's really like $31.50. Still, that's pretty solid. Pars, what you'll really want to see if that first season after Messi and friends are gone, how many people still feel burned? Correct. One, you want to see the renewal rate. And, of course, with supply and demand right now, everybody wants to see Messi. So for the next 2 seasons, if he plays the next 2, Busquets plays the next 2, Alba plays the next 2, Luis Suarez allegedly, possibly, probably comes in as well. You're looking at the idea of how many people want to see some of the world's either A, greatest players, or B, greatest names come into Fort Lauderdale. I think that while they're there, the supply and the demand, you're going to wash. For the number of folks that aren't interested anymore in season tickets, you'll have people fill in those spots. But to Pars's point, when Messi and friends are gone, it will be incumbent upon Inter Miami to continue, if they want to have these ticket prices, to continue the cycle of bringing in individuals of that kind of import. And then once again, gauge, get in capacity, and compare with other franchises. So that's kind of where we are here with all of this. Stadium that's half the size, you're getting season tickets over $50. Compared to Atlanta United, Ricky's right now is $31.50. So, I mean, it's you understand it. In theory, if you doubled the size of the stadium, maybe it would be in that range, in that $30 range, in the mid-30s someplace to try to get in and figure out, okay, get in season ticket. If you had a 40,000-seat stadium in Miami, would you still want to try to charge $52, or would you be charging a little less? But to Pars's point, Inter Miami is going to have to continue this kind of personnel momentum, for lack of a better phrase, as they go forward after the 2.5 years or 1.5 years of Messi and Alba and Busquets and whomever else they decide to bring in. That personnel momentum is going to have to continue ticket prices, because how much supply and demand is there going to be? How much trade out are you going to have one for one when it comes to individuals and season tickets after Messi and friends go away and retire? That will be the question. How many people still feel burned? How many people will still come back? Will there be a fan base left once they're gone? Ricky, with that question, absolutely. So that's what you're staring at, right? And that's the morning, Tom, from the Sandy Springs MARTA station. But yeah, Ricky, to Ricky's point, almost twice the season ticket holders as they do seats. And so, that with the pricing that is here with Atlanta United, once again, you sit there and you compare, and you can maybe cut in half. Like if you double the size of the stadium, that was my point. If you sit there and it's like, if you double the size of the stadium in Miami, would the prices still be on the average of $52 for your get-in? I don't think so. They might do that just in case, but I would say that it might be like in the 40s somewhere as opposed to 52. So, might be a little higher than Atlanta United if the buildings were the same size. But I think that when people sit there and just compare within your own sport, I know everybody's dragging in the National Football League and Major League Baseball and all these kinds of things, but look at stadium size, look at your prices, look at all these different kinds of things that are going to be playing a part in all of this. But your get-in season ticket next year at Inter Miami is going to be $52. Ricky's got his at 31, and thank you for sharing, just so we could have a math as a base. Pars, going for money is not how you truly build a fan base. True. You need consistency, sustainability, and culture. True. They've gone for short-term gains without caring about long-term ramifications. Right. It is win now. It is win now. We're building a new building. We need revenue. We need capital. We need attention. We need eyes. We need all these kinds of things to draw attention to what we're doing here. Hey, we brought in Lionel Messi. Isn't that great? It's fantastic. Do not misunderstand. It's great. But Inter Miami has gone to win now. They are building toward next year. And however many seasons Lionel Messi will continue to play, and Busquets and Alba and whomever else they bring in. Because they could bring in another DP. All they've got to do is buy down Gregory. Is it Luis Suarez? Is it somebody else? Because and we've seen this with the younger players that have been brought in as well. Hey, you get the chance to play with Lionel Messi. The younger players, Facundo Farias. The key will be to keep players like him, keeping Benjamin Kromaski, keeping a Noah Allen. But Inter Miami has gone short-term gain here to try to draw people in the door, to get this revenue push. Because they got a stadium to build. Hey, look at us. We're a shiny object. But what happens when people get tired of playing with that new toy? They want the newest new toy. But to Pars' point, and this is absolutely correct. Right now, it is short-term gain. All this investment. They do have some young players that we did see this past season in MLS Next Pro. I mean, Kromaski was an early part of that this year. When you had Benjamin Kromaski playing for Inter Miami 2, Herons 2 against Atlanta United 2. You got to see Benjamin Kromaski early this season. Now, the question will be, how much more development will you continue to see with Herons 2, in addition to bringing in all the shiny stars and the shiny objects and the new toys? That is what I'm going to be looking at. Pars says Miami's success is a retirement team for stars. So we'll keep, and then right now, hey, I want to go play with my buddy Messi. That's what you're doing. Ricky says this feels wildly PSG, which is ironic. And you're bringing in, it's like what? It's Neymar, Messi, Mbappe. Yeah, I mean, it does. But PSG won league, even though they didn't win Champions League. I think the true test for Inter Miami will be next year. Great run this year. They got Leagues Cup. They got on that big run. What were they? Was it 10-1-1 out of the blocks? But remember, a lot of those Leagues Cup wins came in shootouts. They'd be draws in Major League Soccer. How does this translate next season? You're building for next year. You're bringing in the younger guys to augment what you're bringing in with Messi and friends. How does this look next year? How does this look in 2 years? But then to Pars' point, what happens when all the shiny objects go away? Who are the new shiny objects? Or are you banking on Kromaski, et cetera, to be those shiny objects as you continue to build forward? That will be the question. But I think right now a lot of folks in Miami are doing sticker shock. Pars asks, has anyone thought about the impact on seat prices for the All-Star game next year? Ooh. That one will be interesting. That one will be interesting to find out what is going on. That will be very, very interesting. What will the prices be for the All-Star game next year when commissioners' picks, in addition to those who are voted in, might be a little different. So we'll see. We will see what it looks like. That will be the fun part in all of this. I think it's in Columbus. I think you're right. But that's the biggest thing here. Once again, sticker shock across the board for all the different ticket items, We will continue to see what's going on with all of this, the knock-on effect as we go forward. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll get into that. And all the news of the morning as well. Once again, and what to watch and where to watch it from. Jurgen Klopp is interested in Daniel Malen after his start to the season at Borussia Dortmund, willing to sell. The team's willing to sell for $52 million. Chelsea monitoring developments. Of course they are. We talked about this yesterday. Chelsea's monitoring developments between Victor Osimhen and Napoli. We got to talk about that apology that Napoli posted yesterday. Apology on social media. We'll get into that. But, it is 9:30. We get to talk to somebody about his golf game. We get to talk about his burgeoning franchise. And honestly, right there at the edge of the set, right there. It's right there. Rhode Island FC. We get to talk about all this kind of stuff. But since it is 9:30 on a Friday and he's dropping in, that means we get to roll a special intro because somebody's coming on the show right now. What's up, Cap?
John, good morning.
Okay, so let's talk your golf game. What's going on? You see, you look like you're ready. Like the second this segment is over, you look like you are ready to hit the links for the entire day and turn your phone off and sit there and go, "Oh God, Nelson's calling. I'm not going to answer the phone."
I wish I was, John, but I'm not, unfortunately. But I did play the other day on Wednesday, and I hit pretty good. Shot an 80, 89, so it was good, not great, but.
Okay, so then as someone who is a fellow golfer that doesn't get to play as much as you, what is your go-to club? What is your trouble club that you sit there and it's like, okay, I'm in a jam. I'm just going to pull out this club and do whatever I want to do with it. What is your utility club that gets you out of jams most of the time that you're the most comfortable?
That's a good question, John. I don't know if I have one. Any club can be good on a certain day. I'd say I'm most comfortable with a 7-iron.
There you go.
Yeah, the longer the iron, the more likely it is to be going anywhere at once.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And I am right there with you. The 7-iron, true story. I didn't have a set of clubs growing up, but the neighbor, because I was left-handed and everybody looked at me like, dude, you're left-handed. You're like not approaching the ball from the proper location. And our neighbors had two clubs. They had a pitching wedge and a 7-iron from a random set of lefty clubs that, they've like left or whatever, and they were the rusting in the garage. And they're like, here, take them. And so what we would do to learn the game is we would play with tennis balls, and we would hit the tennis balls over houses, and we would use the water mains as the holes. And so literally that's how we would learn how to go over obstacles and things like that, was with tennis balls and 7-irons. That was how I learned the game. That's
a good way to do it.
And
less likely to break something too.
Well, you ain't seen me play. Yeah. So, I mean, but it was an interesting way to kind of learn the game and, move forward in those kinds of things. So, what's your handicap, by the way?
I'm a 12.
Okay. And if you needed to improve, what do you need to improve on the most? You good off the tee? You need long irons? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, just depends on the day, doesn't it, John?
It does.
Putting's probably where I can make up the most strokes.
Okay.
The amount of 3 putts I have is
right there with you. Yeah. I'm awful at that. Yeah. When it comes to your mentoring person, the mentoring Michael Parkhurst, what have you come to, and I'm trying to phrase it like the golf discussion we were having. What have you improved on the most as a mentor in your time with Greg and Beyond Goals? How have you improved your mentoring game as you have started this adventure with BGM?
Yeah, I think just being able to relate it to different kids, different levels, and and how it all kind of relates, right? Of like even a college athlete preparing for something versus a pro athlete versus a 12-year-old trying to make a club team, or a 15-year-old trying to make varsity. It's just connecting everything sometimes in simpler ways, but understanding, in the end, it's all pretty similar, of what leads to success and the challenges and overcoming things.
So when it comes to how long did it take you to understand that when you look in the mirror at mentor Michael Parkhurst, that that the messaging is pretty much similar, and that you can kind of take messaging and relay it to different folks and do it in different ways, but still get the same message across? How long did it take for you to learn that?
It took some time. I think just, being at the high level, for such a long time, you kind of, forget a little bit, or you're just not sure, right? Is it relatable, I
Yeah.
guess? Right. But I think the more you work with kids, the more you understand it's all the same. We're all going through the same struggle. It's just at a different level, and just at a different intensity sometimes, and more pressure and things like that. But um, so it definitely took some time. But now that we're 2 years in now, so I feel like we've spoken to kids now at all different levels. So feeling much better about our approach and how we can help kids no matter their level.
So then, how much of your mentoring style is in Greg? How much of Greg's mentoring style is in you? Or do you guys just kind of sit there and go, okay, that's his thing. I can't do certain things that he can. And I know that, his skill set is different than mine. Or is there crossover? And have you learned from each other?
Yeah, we've definitely learned from each other, because we definitely, like everyone, you see things through your own lenses, right, and your own experiences, and that's how we base a lot of our teaching off, is our own experiences. So, one thing that, just for as an example, right, Greg journaled throughout his whole career, and just hearing him speak about the benefits of journaling and why he did it and what he got out of it and how it can help kids. It's definitely something that I now recommend to my mentees, that I would have never thought of, because I didn't journal. And I never did. So, just one example, but, the way that we talk sometimes, and the examples that we bring up, right? So now I can use some of Greg's examples because I've heard it enough in group calls, and we share notes because we share some mentees, and just understanding what he speaks to kids about. And, it's definitely useful.
So and now that you've been doing this for 2 years, were you comfortable from the beginning in being a mentor and doing this in the Beyond Goals framework, or did it take a while for you to become adjusted and accustomed to what you and Greg want this to be and what it is becoming?
Definitely more comfortable. I think that in the beginning, like you're a little nervous, like, is it going to relate? Is it going to hit home? Are our kids going to be bored? Right? Can they sit there and, for 30 minutes on a call, right? And a lot of it is over Zoom, and understand and be engaged, right? And how do you approach someone that is not engaged and doesn't talk, and answers questions with one word, similar to how my son does, right? Those can be a little challenging, and but I think that we've seen enough of those now, and experienced enough of that, where I feel pretty confident going into any situation, and any setting, really. And I've been a little bit more comfortable in public speaking the latter half of my career, and now this has helped me with that as well. Even get a little bit better just speaking in front of groups and teams and different situations.
When you have those mentees that aren't comfortable in speaking, either in a 20 seconds, 30 seconds, letting you know really what's going on, and they only give you those one word answers, yes, no, I don't know, one of those kinds of individuals, and it just depends on the comfort level of that particular young male or female about how they want to give out information, because some folks are just uncomfortable doing those kinds of things.
Totally.
How do you how do you break through and tell them it's okay? It's okay to share. It's okay to let me know what's going on. I'm here to help you. It's not here to cut you down. It's here to help lift you up and have you continue to grow.
Yeah, slowly. I think you have to let everyone get there in their own time, right? And I think that naturally, like you said, some are way more outgoing and into it and engaged, and some of them aren't. And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily not engaged or interested, right? It's just they could be shy and quiet, and or they could be nervous, right? Of maybe they saw us play,
Like,
and
hey, I got Michael Parkhurst and Greg Garza are asking me questions. I don't know, I'm in the same room with them,
yeah, I mean, there's definitely some of that. There's also equal amounts, John, that have no clue who we are.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. They have no idea who the two of you are.
Correct.
Wow. Do you bring like a file folder that has like your Wikipedia page or like something from the MLSPA or MLSsoccer.com? Hey, this is who I am. Or do you have like a photo of you in your Atlanta United jersey that you hold up next to your head?
That's the only awkward part about the mentoring is when I mentor a new kid and I have to kind of understand, or I want them to understand who I am and my experiences, just because I think then they're more apt to care, listen, take it all in, rather than if I'm just some Joe Schmo that mom and dad told to get on the computer and talk with. So asking them, are you familiar with my career? Because I don't, I'll get into it and then tell you if you have no idea, which is great, which is fine.
Yeah.
I don't expect that but if you do know, then I'm not going to waste the time of like telling you who I am and where I played. So that's a little bit awkward every time doing that because, but whatever.
Hi. My name is Michael Parkhurst, and you shake your hand, and it's like, and here's my Wikipedia page, and here's what I look like wearing an Atlanta United jersey. I mean, but at the same time, I think that to your point, I think that mentoring, there is a bit of initial, anyway, salesmanship that's involved because you have to impress upon parents, athlete, that them being with you is worth your time. I mean, they could sit there. They might know you from your playing career. They may not know you from Adam's house cat.
Yeah.
I don't know who Adam is, or if he has a house cat.
Might.
But it's like all of this. There's that initial part of, okay, there's that. Why am I here? Do I trust this individual? There's always that initial awkwardness in whatever level we're talking about here.
Totally. And that's part of it though, right? Of making them feel comfortable.
And that it's, is that a generational thing as well? Is that or a demographical thing as well? Are older mentees or prospective mentees and families, are they more comfortable with you initially? Are the younger ones more comfortable with you? Or is it literally a case by case?
No, I'd say that's right. I'd say that the older players are generally more comfortable. But I have my fair share of younger kids that are, and younger, I mean like 11, 12, that are fantastic, outgoing, like engaged, so into it, so easy to talk to. So yeah, it is a little bit case by case, but in general, yeah, the older players are a little bit freer.
Halftime with the Friday Free Kick, Michael Parkhurst. That MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app, and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at BG Mentoring on the Twitters, where we get to talk about what it's like being a mentor and what it's like to sit there and bring everybody forward. We always talk about from a game perspective and from a franchise and league perspective, rising tide lifts all boats. And if we all have the same kind of information, we can all improve on everything. And I will admit that I get to learn from you every single time that you and Greg come on here on Fridays, because there are things that I get to carry forward when it comes to learning and mentoring and all these kinds of things. So when it comes to rubbing off on other individuals, has it sunk in over this last 2 years how much you've rubbed off on other folks and how you tell somebody something and then it goes to somebody else and they tell two friends and so on and so on. Has it sunk in how many folks that the two of you and everybody there at BGM have impacted?
I don't know. I mean, we hope we are, right? But you never know.
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of stuff that you guys are
It
getting
is.
a chance to share, and you're putting
Yep.
in a lot of personal effort, and Greg's putting in a lot of travel and effort and all these kinds of things. I would think and I would hope that the messages that the two of you are sharing have been rubbing off on a lot of folks.
Yeah, no, I mean, we get great feedback. We do. We've got a lot of amazing people that we work with. Obviously, our partnership with Atlanta United wouldn't be occurring if they didn't think that we were providing value and they were hearing good feedback from their families. So, no, we think that we're in a good spot and growing, and we're enjoy what we do. Right, that's the most important thing. Is we feel like we're having an impact and we enjoy it. So, no, in that regard, it's awesome.
So when you get to see, even after, not immediate, but I mean, even if you were to circle back with folks after, 6 months, a year and a half, what's it like to have that reconnection with folks after you've gotten that initial mentoring and you see how they have improved and how they've rubbed off on others? What's it like for you and Greg to see that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's the best, right? Where you see that people are reaping the benefits of our conversations, and if we could just help just a little bit, right? It's not that people have success because of us. We hope that we just enhance a little bit of that success, or a small part of that person's success, or the reason why they're having success. And that's awesome, right? We want to see young individuals having success and reaching goals, and hopefully we play a small role in that.
If you won the lottery, or if you won Mega Millions,
now we're talking.
How would you what adjustments would you make to Beyond Goals? What would you add? Would you add branch offices? Would you bring in folks? What would you do to continue to take Beyond Goals mentoring to those next steps that I know that you and Greg want to take to?
I think that I would set up a nationwide thing where we recruit ex-professionals, MLS men, NWSL or former national team players on the women's side, so that they can all do what we're doing with Atlanta United locally in their areas, right? And just help them and guide them in the startup phase of it, and talk to the clubs about why they need this, because so many of the clubs that I speak to, they understand that it's a holistic thing, but they're still not providing it, or some provide it, here and there with, a doctor, a professional, which is great. It's an awesome thing. But sometimes younger players, they don't connect with a doctor professional as so much as they do an ex-professional. Right. And so that's what I would do, because it's just more needed. And not only from the mental side of things, right, but just the mentoring side of things, to just talk to guys every now and then. It makes a difference to the performance on the field as well.
When it comes to your speed dial, and outside of the folks that are immediately attached to Beyond Goals, how many folks are on your speed dial for advice when it comes to a particular student athlete, a parent, fellow professionals, dealing with mentoring? How many folks are on your speed dial?
A handful. I think I've got a handful of people that I can go to for advice, and different situations, and they can give me usually solid advice of their experiences, or different different ways to view things, and that's why having connections and relationships is important.
When it comes to all of these different individuals and advice, how much self-reflection do you give yourself? Otherwise, it would be just reflection if it wasn't self-reflection. But when it comes to self-reflection, how much time do you spend away from your mentoring to sit there and think about your mentoring and how you can improve? Because I know as an athlete, you would sit there and it's like, okay, there's practice time, and then there's time that you devote doing things off the field to improve yourself as an athlete. How much time do you spend away from mentoring in the immediate to think about how you can continue to improve as a mentor?
That's a good question, John. I do think that I read more now, and I think I mentioned this before. I read more now than I probably ever have, which honestly isn't saying a lot. But I do read more, and I don't just like to read, fictional books. If I'm reading, I'm trying to learn something. I think that time, but also just putting together presentations and, mixing things up and just constantly kind of like evaluating ourselves of like, is that engaging enough for an 11-year-old? And what's the difference between that and a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old and a college kid, right? Like some of the things that we talk about in the presentation and boy versus girl. And do we have enough videos that have examples for women and girls, right? So they can see themselves, like all those types of things, just constantly trying to improve and learn from.
What was the last book that you read that has helped you in that regard? For Parky's Book Club, how would you who would be a part of Parky's Book Club that would be helpful in what you're trying to do and that might help others? What's the book club?
Actually, the latest book that I'm almost finished with is a book that my financial advisor gave me about like the mental side of finances and money and just like how you view things and like I don't know, just like not actually going after the money, but like enjoying yourself and why do you want money, right? So that you can enjoy things and do stuff that you like to do. So making sure that you've got time to do those things. And it was just like a different view of kind of the world and why we work and what we do and all this stuff. And so I really enjoyed that. Not that it helps tremendously with mentoring, but that's the book that I'm reading right now.
Well, but I mean, it gets into the whole idea of working to live and living to work, and the differences in that. Because if we are all locked in and our head is down and we're not happy with what we're doing, then all we're doing is working to live. If I've got it phrased correctly, if I've got it lined up right, because you want to do things that you enjoy, you want to help others, and that's just, I think, part of our own natural DNA, where you want to be the opposite of just having your head down and punch in a time clock and sit there and go, great, I've got to get up, I've got to go to work again. There's no there. But when we get to help others, when we get to rub off on others, when we get to have shared messages like with what you and Greg are doing, that's the exact opposite of that. And there's a great deal of fulfillment that's attached to that, instead of just putting your head down and punching a time clock and, hoping you don't fall asleep in traffic behind the wheel.
Totally. Totally. And how you relate that to kids, right? And just making sure you're having fun, right? If why do you play soccer, right? Especially when they're down, right? Why do you play soccer? I hope it's because you love it, right? So make sure you're doing it with a smile on your face and you enjoy it. And hopefully we can do the same as adults, right? I know it's not all the time, right? But trying to find the joy that we can within each day.
When did you decide to do Beyond Goals mentoring? How were you were you done? Were you retired? And it's like, hey, I think this is a great idea. Was it something that you were thinking about as you were playing? What was the genesis of this in the first place?
Well, mentoring and just like helping out the younger guys was definitely something that I thought about while I was playing and I brought up to the club. But it didn't go anywhere. Let's just leave it there. So it was definitely a thought of mine, but I never really started to like think about a company or building a business or doing it like that until I retired and I started hanging around the academy a little bit. This was post-retirement, pre-COVID. In those short months there, where I was going out like once a week, twice a week, just to watch the academy kids train and be around and talk to them and stuff like that. And then I started working with Noah Cobb, and I was basically say, hey, Tony, who was the director at the time, let me talk to a kid. Let me mentor somebody that you think I should talk to. And it turned out to be Noah. And so just, having conversations with him and having conversations with his parents and all the questions they had, and just the guidance that I was trying to provide there, it just got me thinking like, man, this is just one player, but surely parents have these questions, all of them, and just other talented players. And, that's how it started, right? Working with the high level. And then we kind of were like, you know what, this messaging goes everywhere. So yeah, it was around that time.
What's it like for you to see Noah, who is part of the development at Center Back U up there at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground? What's it like to see Noah continue to grow? And I mean, Noah at 15, when he was with Atlanta United 2, he didn't care. He's just like, yeah, dude's twice my age. Cameron Lancaster's coming at me. Come on, bring it. He's just like this. And he has continued to grow in his confidence and evolve as a player. What's it like for you to see a guy like Noah who has just literally just hit the ground running and has just turned into this comet as a center back talent?
Yeah, it's been great. Right. And yeah, he's a super talented young player, but he's also got a great head on his shoulders. He's a really good person, comes from a great family. And, he's got a bright future. I think that it's always difficult to break in as a young center back for sure. I'm glad he's gotten a couple opportunities, and now with the twos, and that's not always an easy situation, bouncing back between first team and second team and straddling that line. So, that's he's doing really, really well. And hopefully that trajectory just keeps going, because yeah, he's talented for sure.
All right. Before you go, I've got to drop in an Atlanta United question in here. What have you thought about the 9,000 miles an hour offense that we're seeing with the acquisitions, and right now 9 goals in their last 2 home games, really doing a lot of work, and they've got an off week where they can kind of stare at everybody else. And what has it been like for you to see this group the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been exciting. Similar to everybody else, I think, in the fan base, right? It's kind of like, wow, this is awesome to have it back, right? And I saw some questions on Twitter about like, oh, what about the defense though? And I didn't answer them because I was just thinking about it. But I was like, if you're going to score 4 goals a game, right, you're going to have to commit numbers forward, and by doing that, you expose some things. But before, we were doing that and not scoring the goals. Now we're doing it and we're scoring the goals, right? So you're going to give up some goals when you try and be that high powered offensively, especially with the salary cap restrictions and just, and everything like that.
Don't get me started about the salary cap restrictions, sir.
So it's awesome though. I think the team's in a really good place right now. They're exciting. Knock on wood, they stay healthy. And, I don't think any team out there is going to want to play Atlanta United in the playoffs.
All right. So what's the latest with Beyond Goals mentoring? I know that we're in the college season. High school's coming up around the corner. National teams around the planet are doing friendlies. What's the latest with Beyond Goals?
Yeah, we speaking of national teams, exciting news about U.S. soccer and headquarters in Atlanta.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna do our best to see if Beyond Goals can have an impact there as well.
There you go.
Even though that's a little bit down the line, but
you got to start planning now, brother.
Totally. I may be making an appearance next week at an Atlanta United game.
Oh.
Yes, it could happen.
Okay. So in the industry, we call that a tease. And legitimately, it is a tease. So
that is a tease.
So, all right. So Michael might be making an appearance at a possible Atlanta United event down the line. We would kind of know what that would be because there's only one other home match left. So it might be something kind of like that.
Is next week the last home game
of the regular season? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And then there's like this playoff thing that comes on after that. And we'll be looking forward to it. So there might be a Michael Parkhurst experience in Atlanta in the beginning of October. This is kind of what you're saying?
Could be, yes.
Okay. All right. So it could be. At MF Parkhurst on the Twitters, at BG Mentoring, here for the Friday Free Kick. It's always great, Cap, to catch up with you and Greg, find out about how Beyond Goals is continuing to grow and how you guys are impacting the next generation / generations of individuals. And it's real fun to catch up with you on a bunch of different things, but obviously let everybody know what's going on and how Beyond Goals mentoring is just taken off. Love these conversations, and bring your 7-iron with you.
I wish. Don't tempt me, John.
I know. You'll sit there and go, no.
By the way, next time I'm on, hopefully we can talk about our first signing in RIFC history.
Ooh.
Made, but we can't announce yet.
Oh, okay. So when that happens, can I talk to executive Michael Parkhurst about getting his head coach for a 1v1 or have him live on the show or something?
Yes, absolutely.
Sweet. I'll do that. All right. Cap, be good. Have a good weekend. And we might see you in October down here in Atlanta.
Just might. See you, John.
Thanks, my friend. Michael Parkhurst is out the door. And it's always fun, once again, at BG Mentoring. And our friends there, Greg and Michael, it's great to catch up with the two of them and find out what's going on in the world of mentoring and find out, just to talk soccer, but mentoring and all the aspects of it, and find out what's going on. Jessica Charman coming up in just a couple of minutes, so that means I've got to do something. I've got to take care of a little business before we bring her on to talk about a bunch of stuff, and we both get mad about things collectively about some of the clubs that we're attached to. So what I'm going to do is adjust the volume and hit music so we can read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. A Lemonize service, a QR code over my left shoulder for those of you who are watching on Twitch, on Facebook, and on the Twitters. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, they've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use a Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Thank you, Ricky, for telling me what that means. I might be able to understand it at some point. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment, offering a green way. We like that. We like being kind to the environment. To get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, you take that masking agent and you spray it in the air in whatever room you're in. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. It's because you're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem like our friends at a Lemonize service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. And this is where I grab my pen, because if you have any other questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one thing that you need to do, it is go to the website right there over my left shoulder, lemonize.com. But do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, so they can help you with your problem. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Lemonize.com /Atlanta. A Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Friday /weekend. Jessica Charman coming up in a couple of minutes. And like I said, we'll talk stuff. And we got a lot of different stuff to talk about with Jess. She was busy last night. I know that surprises you. And we will talk about college. We'll talk about pros. We'll talk about Charlotte. We'll talk about what's going on up there. We'll also talk about some of our clubs that are in a lot of trouble. And we will have those kind of conversations coming up in short order. We were getting into all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo and things left unsaid. Al Hilal remains keen to sign Osimhen. Will offer him a 5-year deal, $39 million a year, pounds, and meet Napoli's asking price of $173 million. I know we've got to get to the apology that wasn't an apology. Juve are interested in signing Pierre-Emile Højbjerg from Spurs, but they've got to offload a player first to free up funds. You can talk to Nick next time he's on about Juve and the new stadium for other folks. Jurgen Klopp wants to extend the contract of Thiago Alcantara, but others inside Anfield not convinced the 32-year-old deserves a new deal. Jan Matsen's future at Chelsea remains undecided. No movement over a new contract could force the club to listen to offers for the 21-year-old in January. Manchester United and Chelsea, according to Fabrizio Romano, interested in Flamengo's 17-year-old midfielder Loran. Real Madrid's former coach Zinedine Zidane agreed to a deal with Saudi Arabian investors to become Marseille boss if they buy the Ligue 1 club. That's from Radio France Bleu Provence. Steve Bruce could return to football management as the new Republic of Ireland boss, with pressure mounting on current manager Stephen Kenny. That is, according to the three-letter paper, take the information at your own peril. Also, Arsenal hoping to offer Ben White a new deal. Talks between Newcastle and Joe Linton over a new deal progressing well. The Magpies also want to tie down Sven Botman to a new deal for interest with PSG. Ivan Toney wants a new opportunity in 24. Arsenal and Chelsea both having been told the 27-year-old's price for January or next summer by his agents. Leicester's Patson Daka is Brentford's top choice to replace Toney. They need help up top. Chelsea willing to offers for Mark Cucurella before a possible January move. Real Madrid keen to sign him. Premier League and the EFL have agreed to sell their TV rights together for the first time from 2028. There's another deal on the table that offers the lower divisions more, but there are a lot of strings attached. That's from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Chelsea's owners, who have 800 million pounds of loans in place, are weighing up whether to increase borrowing up to another 250 million pounds. Damn. And Aston Villa and Castor could terminate their deal at the end of the season, with the club's men's and women's teams having complained about their shirts. Yeah. Get better quality. Don't have them tear. Don't have them look like you're running through a car wash after 7 minutes. And since it is 10:07, I'm late. There's Jess.
Hello.
Jess, you are wearing what this morning?
I'm wearing a Her Game 2 jersey, but the main point is that it's a black jersey because, as everybody that maybe follows me knows, that tomorrow is Black Saturday for Reading FC, and we are dressed for a soccer funeral, which is heartbreaking to say, but unless this club finds someone to buy them and find someone to turn the tide, then it's only heading one way at the moment. Progress is being made since our last conversation, John, but it's getting squeaky bum time, if I can say it a little with a bit of a smile on my face to try and cheer me up.
Well, and that was why you wore black this morning, and I decided to break out my Scunthorpe pullover.
Mm-hmm.
Because as someone who is a member of their trust, I talked about their situation yesterday where they're now in the 6th division. Their current owner, who picked them up in January, is like, nah, I'm done. The team is like, okay, well, then we're going to leave playing in this place. We're going to go play someplace else. The team that's in charge of that someplace else is like, well, you kind of need to talk to us about that first. And so after the 7th of October, they're going to be looking for a place to play. They need a new owner. And there are 4 letters that Scunthorpe and no team wants to see in British football: HMRC. And those are appearing with Scunthorpe as well. They have a winding up petition coming up in short order. So it could be some bad-ish going on at Scunthorpe. And Reading, you and I talked about it a lot. And it sucks. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It sucks for the fans. It sucks for those that have been a part of it for you and your family as long as you have. And you know, there's. I also read that there's the possibility of another points deduction. Did I see that too?
So I think they've successfully been able to pay the wage bill this month. So it is great news. However, how crazy that it is news that the staff and the players are going to get paid correctly. That is just completely insane. That is headline news for Reading FC right now. Listen, John, it's really sad because I think when we talked about Bury a few years back, you kind of just say, oh, you know, we're really sad. Hopefully it never happens to my club. You never think it's going to happen to your club. And unfortunately right now it is happening to my club. And, you know, as someone that's played for the women's team, that's been a part of it, has played in the Medeski Stadium, now SCL, obviously, it's crazy to think that might cease to exist one day. And right now I think the fans are doing everything possible. And, you know, they've seen the news. I think it's amazing to see The Athletic writing a extensive article. They've got MP support now. People are really making headlines as of now. But is that enough? Not yet, unfortunately. You have to get the financial backing to change it, and you have to find someone to be able to displace Dye. And he just doesn't seem to give two F's, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and I know that we'll all be keeping an eye on all of that stuff. I know that there was a full dossier with you. My first question is, how long do we have you as one of the busiest people in show business?
Let's go with 15 more minutes.
All right.
My dad is in town, so I do have to spend a little bit of time with my father before he heads out. He has been making many a commute to Charlotte with me, but he is getting the experience to be in the booth, so that is pretty cool.
That is very cool. All right, so we've got college to look at. We've got Major League Soccer to look at specifically from 30,000 feet. We've got your situation going on in Charlotte. We've got what's going on here in Atlanta. Let's start with college, considering that two of the busiest people in show business called a match last night. Mercer and Wofford, I believe, in SoCon. As you've been able to do Clayton State and Mercer, what are some of your early thoughts when it comes to the college game so far this year? And GGC, where you got to do some stuff on sideline and talk to people with a microphone. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just ending up all over the Southeast doing college games. So it's super exciting to see it across all the levels. As everyone knows, someone that benefited so much from the college system, no student debt, really lovely to get that full ride and get to play at the level and, get an education as well. It's so important to still see that college soccer has a place. I know that we've talked a little bit about the pathway to pro now and how it's changing with academies. But what I love to see is that there's still a place for college soccer to thrive and to build professionals. And there's still going to be players that are able to make that jump from the college system if they weren't able to go pro early. You look at Duncan Maguire with Orlando City and what he's done. You look at Patrick Agyman with Charlotte FC and the steps that he's made. And the more I watch Clayton State, you're looking at some of these guys thinking, wow, I think they can make the jump to the next level. And it's also important. What I love about what I do is I see Division I, I see Division II, I see NAIA. And listen, there is quality players and quality talent across all those decisions. I think sometimes we get so hooked up in America on the D1 title or the SEC conference. And yes, of course, high quality players attracting the best, but there's a lot of players that choose to go to other colleges for other reasons, whether it be eligibility, whether it be location, whether it be scholarship. You can still find incredible players at all levels of the game. So I've loved it. Yesterday was awesome calling the game with Jason. I did play-by-play, he did color. So it was nice to be able to bounce that off Jason. And I'm going to drop some hot news, John, since it's always nice to share with my favorites. I will be doing a game on the SEC network on October 8th. So that's going to be a lot of exciting. Get to call that one remotely out of the ESPN studios. That one is Kentucky versus Vanderbilt on the women's side. So that is going to be a lot of fun. A little bit nervous about that, but great to make my SECN network debut. Hey, I get.
There you go. There's your breaking news sounder. Jess on the SEC network. That's very cool. And obviously those of us here, we know you'll crush it. So no doubts on our end about anything that is going on in the world of Jessica Charman. Very, very cool because yes, in the SEC, it just means more. We know this exists.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that you'll be able to switch on the television and you might hear my voice breaking down some soccer. I love radio. Everyone knows I'm so passionate about radio, but to do some TV isn't a bad thing.
All right. So then let me ask you this. Since you've seen it, since you've seen the sport on a bunch of different levels, give me, and I know that probably you could start with Clayton State, who are some of those talented individuals that aren't right there, like that are SEC, Power 5 conference quality that you really could see making the jump, and that some general managers and technical directors and coaches in League One, in USL Championship, overseas and lower divisions, who are some of the players that have been in your spot shadow that you want to sit there and point at and go, look, take a look at this person. They're really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen him with UPSL and also with I'm trying to think of the league now, but Gio Rios obviously is an incredible talent. Wears the number 10 jersey for Clayton State, breaking every single record possible when it comes to the Lakers. I'll be honest with Gio, he did get the extra COVID year, so kind of a little bit unfair with all these records being broken when you get a whole extra season. And I don't think he'll mind me saying that, but Giovanni Rios is a quality player. I know that Jared is a big fan of his from his time with Apotheos, so that is great for him. There's also a guy called Alexis Aturia that plays for Clayton State as well. He played in the 7v7 tournament with Clint Dempsey's team and scored a goal. He was the guy that they didn't know who it was that scored a goal because he wasn't on the roster in the same way for the commentators. But I knew who that was because Alexi is incredible. Anyone that follows me on Instagram would have seen the goal that he scored on Wednesday. It was absolutely brilliant, his finish. So those guys, just two to name a few, are incredible players. But you know, we've seen it with, and we were talking about players that made the jump. I mean, look at Karim Tamimi. Atlanta United 2 fans will know that name. And I was singing Karim's praises. You know, I'm not trying to say I knew before, but let's be honest, I was singing Karim's praises for a long time before Atlanta United picked him up. And, you know, I love now with MLS Next Pro growing, because you mentioned USL Championship, you mentioned USL League One, but there is so many opportunities to make that jump to the next level. And that is the ultimate mark of the growth of soccer in the US, where there is all of these leagues where players can make, you know, the step into the professional game. And I don't want to come across as a Euro snob, John, because you know that's something that I'm very passionate about not doing. But the more you make it mirror a league that is so successful like the English Premier League, with your reserve teams, with, you know, Championship, League One, having different pathways to pro and different ways to get into professional soccer and become full-time, that can only be a good thing for the growth of the game in the US.
All right, since you went there, let's talk MLS Next Pro. Crown Legacy, number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, playoffs coming up. They get to kind of watch everybody else pick a partner and do their own.
What do you think of that, John? I'm gonna switch the tables. What do you think of this whole pick your opponent thing?
I'm an old FUD. If you're
yeah.
if you're 2, you play 8. If you're 3, you play 7. Or 3, 2, 7.
Yeah. Best should play worse than vice versa.
Yeah. But the key is reseed after each matchup. Don't just sit there.
Yes. And then force the bracket.
Yeah, if the 5 wins and the 7 wins, reseed everybody. Don't just sit there and it's like, yeah, okay, that's your pathway. Reseed, so that way top seed plays lowest remaining and so on. Don't just sit there and have
that way it's a true reward for finishing top.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, MLS Next Pro has been a really cool window to try out different things. Like, people won't believe I'm saying this, but I bloody love the penalty shootouts at the end. I think it's like, maybe that's the sign of me being in America for 10 years, that I really love the fact.
But if you really were an American, you'd love the 35-yard run-up.
Oh, no, I want that. Oh, all day, every day of the week. I 100% want the dribble-up American-style penalties, as we call them. I loved those as a kid when I played in tournaments, because I was, as we know, I had the nickname Mad Cat for a reason, because I was pouncing at everybody's feet. So I absolutely love it. I like this comment too, John, talking about my Goalie Wars Championship with Isaac Walker. I mean, need I say more? I sacrificed myself for him to thrive, you know?
You need the belt behind you there, Jess.
I need a picture with the belt. Honestly, if Isaac Walker, and he follows me on Instagram, so I may have to send him this video, Isaac needs to give me a little bit more credit. Like, I deserve a bit of a shout out, because that throw was developed against me. And it was very good for my ego to see that so many pros struggle with a throw. Even the guy that was named goalkeeper of the year for Crown Legacy, for MLS Next Pro, the Austin goalkeeper, Damian Lass, I mean, couldn't handle the throw of Isaac Walker. Nobody could.
Yep. So then how does Charlotte improve consistency? Is rotating the key positions like keeper? You know, Charlotte's got a lot of options. So how does Charlotte improve consistency?
Yeah, it's a really tough one, right? Because I do think they've been marred with injuries, and that has been an issue. And defensively, they've had the worst record in the league for a very long time, conceding a lot of goals. I don't think rotating is the option for that. Actually, I think it's the opposite. For me, playing as a goalkeeper, I wanted the same back line in front of me week in, week out, because you build that chemistry, you build that camaraderie, you build that understanding of each other. Unfortunately, Charlotte hasn't been able to do that because they've had different fullbacks, different centre backs, injuries, whether it's selection, injuries, you know, individual decision from the manager. So there hasn't been that chemistry. But right now, honestly, when you look at the biggest issues for Charlotte, it's creating goal scoring opportunities. Obviously, when you have a stat like conceding over 40 goals in a season, you're going to look at the defense. But last time out against FC Cincinnati, we didn't record a single shot on target, not a single shot on target. That is a huge issue when you've got 2 designated players playing on the pitch together. So for me, it's not putting games to bed. 23 points dropped from winning positions this year for Charlotte FC. It's the most in the league by a country mile. That's the biggest issue right now, not putting games to bed and not having the game management at the end of the games. Because if you even get half of those points, you're comfortably in the playoffs instead of sitting outside looking in right now. And listen, there's definitely still a chance. Is it a difficult chance? Yeah, but absolutely needing to get a chance to, you know, you can't give up anything else now. Otherwise, it's game over. And you've got 2 games at the end of the season against Inter Miami. We don't know the Messi situation with that. So, you know, that's fascinating too. That's a whole nother kettle of fish, right? Leo Messi and what's going on with him.
All right, Burton Albion and Reading is this weekend. So for folks who are on this side of the pond, I know you'll be keeping an eye on this one. It's an early, almost relegation 6-pointer situation.
No, stop. Don't say the R word. That's so rude, John. So rude.
Right now, it's an important one for you because Burton Albion is above the line. You're a point behind them. What are you anticipating in this one? And for those that want to be drifting in and will be watching the situation as to why everyone's in black and all this kind of stuff, what are you anticipating with this particular match this weekend as everybody is going to be looking at things on the field and off?
Yeah, it's about finding that balance, right? Because you want the on the pitch result, but at the end of the day, how much does an on the pitch result matter if your club is going to go into an administration and cease to exist? So I know there's some Reading FC fans that are worried about the in-game protests, that are worried that it's a distraction. There was one news article that came out saying that the manager asked for the fans to find a way to protest that doesn't affect the run of play. Not sure how accurate that is. It's come from a music station, and we had a press conference with Ruben Sellers just yesterday, and that wasn't mentioned to all the other journalists. If he has said that, I'm sorry, Ruben. I have a lot of respect for a manager that takes over a team that is such a shit show as Reading FC right now.
There you go.
He has really, endeared himself to me. And I think that he's an exciting manager and the style of players is very exciting. But the club's future matters more than one result, right? It absolutely matters more. So I say to the fans, protest in whatever way you've set up and organized, whether it's throwing tennis balls in to the field in the 16th minute because 16 points is what we've lost over the last 2 years, whether it's wearing the black, whether it's yelling, we want Die Out, whether it's stand up if you hate Die Young, whatever we're doing. Sorry, Ruben, I have the utmost respect for you and the players, but surely if you are not getting paid on time, if you are worried about where your next paycheck is coming from, deep down you want to support these fans that have loved this club their whole life and are doing everything they can. As we say, support the team, not the regime. It's not a snide to the players. And at the end of the day, as a professional football player, you've got to handle business. And if it's too distracting for you for the game to be paused for a couple of minutes at a time, then what does that say about you as a player? And that's not meant to be a dig, but you've got to be able to stay focused in big moments in matches.
Yeah, I know the fourth is holding up the sign. I know that you've got to go. Charlotte and the Revs this weekend. What do you think?
Listen, the Revs is another shit show right now, right? Like, let's be honest, they're going through a lot of changes, a lot of disruption, a lot of difficulties right now. So it's a good time to play them. I think it's a team for Charlotte that is coming off a really bad result against FC Cincinnati, and I'm hoping that they're able to bounce it back. I've been a part of Charlotte sports for 2 years now, and everyone's telling me the most Charlotte thing in the world would be to keep the hopes high, pick up wins now, and then maybe at the last hurdle find it difficult or have someone upset the party. It's a must-win game. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely a must-win game for Charlotte FC. I just want to see goals, honestly. After not recording a shot on target for an entire match, you just want to see the attack click together. Really big matchup for the crown. So excited to call it alongside my buddy Willie P. And maybe we'll get him to go into Mickey Mouse mode with a couple of goal calls this weekend.
WFNZ and the Odyssey app. Jess, as always, golden ticket holder Jessica Charman. She knows she can crash it at any time. Go spend time with your dad.
Yes. Andy needs a little bit of attention. We're going to go shopping. So fingers crossed he is still taking care of me.
There you go. All right. Be well, Jess.
All right.
Crash anytime.
Take care. Thank you so much.
All right. All right. There's Jess. And fantastic stuff with Jess. And Jess puts up with me a lot. So great stuff from Jess, as always, covering everything about what's going on. There's a lot to talk about with Jess when she comes on. And literally it is like rapid fire. And she earned us the explicit rating today. So good on us. All right. So we talked about all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And now, since we're there, we'll talk about soccer on TV on today. Then we'll get into Weekend Whiparound, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. ACC's got Syracuse and Duke at 7. BN, Ligue 1 at 3. BN en Espanol is your simulcast. FNTZ.co/soccer down here. It is Fanatis, and you can get all the BNs. You could watch the Copa last night and seen the Palmeiras match with Boca Juniors. And so that was a cool watch, even though it was a goalless draw. Cavani looked like he was complete and totally gassed by the time it was done. So it's CDO for the fans, Teise, BN, Nuestra Tele, a lot of folks, a lot of live stuff. FNTZ.co/soccer down here. it helps out the show, helps out us at the network, helps them out at their network. So if you have stuff that you want to watch that you can't watch anywhere else, Jason got me hooked on Fanati's. I blame him. FS2 has a league that I'm not going to watch or promote coming on in 35 minutes. Canadian Premier League is on at 9 o'clock on FS2. Cavalry and Valor. ESPN Deportes at 3. Barca and Sevilla. Fox Deportes has a doubleheader for a league I'm not going to watch or promote. Gold TV, 3:15. Gold TV is also on Fanati's. You can get the Portuguese Primera there as well. ACC Extra, it is college men and women on a season pass, conference quarterfinals, and MLS Next Pro. Sporting Kansas City 2 and Austin FC 2. They are on at 8 o'clock. ESPN Plus has the championship at 3, Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland. Bundesliga at 2:20, Hoffenheim and Borussia Dortmund. Bundesliga B, Hamburg and Fortuna Düsseldorf. La Liga, Barcelona, Sevilla. 2 matches in League One, North Carolina and Union Omaha, Greenville and Northern Colorado. 7 matches in the men's side, and 3, 6, 9, 11 on the women's side. Flow FC has 6 in the Northeast, starting at 3 o'clock. Fox Soccer Plus has the league I'm not going to talk about or promote, and 6 matches on SEC Plus on the women's side, all across everything there as well. So very, very busy day for those of you that want to watch stuff. You can do it on a bunch of different places. So thanks to everybody who's been on so far. It has been Michael Parkhurst and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring for the Freddie Free Kick. Jessica Charman. It has the golden ticket status, and she can crash whenever she damn well wants. We can talk about whatever she wants to talk about. So now it's time for the Weekend Whiparound. Patent pending, trademark coming. We go over juice boxes. We get you squared away for all of the action on the weekend and let you know what is to watch, where it can be watched, and how the juice boxes are when it comes to everything there. All right, Major League Soccer. We'll blow through the schedule and let you know first and foremost where everything is. 7:30, Columbus, Philly, Miami, NYC, New England, and Charlotte, they're on season pass. Red Bulls and Fire, they're on the free side of Apple TV. Orlando, Montreal is on season pass. Toronto and Cincinnati is on the free side. 8:30, Houston coming off of their Open Cup win, hosting Dallas. That's on season pass. Minnesota hosting San Jose, the free side. Season pass, Nashville hosting Seattle. Free side, the I-74 rivalry, St. Louis and Kansas City. 9:30, Colorado and Austin's on the free side. 10:30, LA and Portland is on season pass, as is Vancouver and DC. On Sunday, 8 o'clock, the FS1 game is LAFC and Salt Lake, and that means that that's on the free side of Apple TV as well. And then you've also got on season pass Tacoma and Dynamo Dos at 10 o'clock, listed on the MLS side of things, which I find very interesting. So Defiance and Dynamo Dos at 10 o'clock on season pass as a part of your MLS Next Pro playoffs. Now, let's get into your matchups. Columbus and Philly at lower.com at 7:39. 14-9-7 hosting 14-8-8. Union unbeaten in their last 6 against the Crew, winning 4 and drawing 2. Only 1-2 of 17 in visits to Columbus, losing 11. Both wins coming in 2016. Since both of those wins, Union have managed 1 goal in 8, losing 5. Columbus unbeaten in 13 straight home matches in all comps, winning 10, drawing 3, including a penalty shootout loss, including recording shutout wins in each of the last 3 at lower.com. Crew have lost only 1 of their last 25 home matches in all competitions, winning 17. Philadelphia's played 4 consecutive draws, including a 1-1 result against FC Dallas on Wednesday. Union, yes, you do need a draw, and this is where Atlanta United, with the weekend being what it is, KFC, you're hoping for draws and losses for the folks above. You want the folks below you to get some wins. Philadelphia's played 4 consecutive draws. And so, KFC, I think you might be right, including a 1-1 result against Dallas on Wednesday. Frankly, I think Dallas got screwed. Union have lost only 1 of their last 9 regular season matches, a 3-1 loss to Toronto on August 30. They've won 4 and drawn 4. Cucho has attempted 7 shots in the Crew draw at FC Dallas, his league-high 16th match this season with at least 5 shots. No players recorded more such games in a single season since 2019. Carlos Vela and Zlatan had 21 and 17. Kai Wagner recorded his 38th career regular season assist in the Union's draw with Dallas. 11 more than any other MLS defender since he joined the league in 2019. 38 assists, tied for the 9th most of any player in that time. So I think if you're Atlanta United, obviously, you're looking at draw here. And when you look at the standings, once again, let's look at the chaos and see, once again, be reminded where folks are. Eastern Conference, Cincinnati's 11 points clear, 4 matches to go. So they can, so it's 12. And so if Cincinnati gets 2 points, then they clinch top seed in the Eastern Conference. Orlando's at 51. Philadelphia's at 50. Columbus is at 49. But, yeah, you're looking at draws here. Both have played 30 matches, same number of wins. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a draw with Philadelphia and Columbus. Atlanta 5th at 49. They have one less win. They played one more match. New England's at 49. They've got 13 wins as well, but they have 2 matches in hand behind Atlanta United. But that's why we wanted to get the quick soundbite with Jess about Charlotte. Then there's the group. Nashville's alone by themselves, 5 points away from the group, but they've got 2 matches in hand also on folks above them. Nashville's at 44 points. Montreal, 37 points, 3 more wins than NYC. NYC would need to win out and have Montreal not win another game, which seems to be something of an impossibility for NYC to have any kind of a tiebreaker against Montreal at the end of the line. DC's at 36, Red Bull's at 34, same number of wins, same record as Chicago, ahead of them on goal difference. Charlotte's at 33. They need the win over the Revs. Miami's at 32, 5 points out of the playoffs, 2 matches in hand. They've got 5 matches to play. Toronto, obviously, 4 matches to go. They're eliminated. 0-11 and 4 on the road for Toronto. So that's what you're staring at. Juice boxes in this one. Columbus a minus 125. Your draws a plus 304. Philadelphia is a plus 298 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. I think what you're looking at is Philadelphia trying to play Philadelphia style, and they're going to try to muck it up and turn it ugly and try to get out of there with whatever they can, considering that they got that 1 point against Dallas in the midweek. They did have some rotation, but we'll see what the lineup looks like at 7:30 tomorrow night. Inter Miami, the numbers kind of come back a little bit. Inter Miami's a plus 102 because now there's a discussion that Messi will not play against NYC. Draws a plus 272, NYC's a plus 241. So obviously in this one, you're probably rooting for NYC if you don't want Miami to make it into the postseason. This one's at Drive Pink. Fun facts. As 9-15 and 5 hosts 8-10 and 13. NYC has won 7 of 8 all time, including a 1-0 win in March. Miami's lone result, a 3-2 home win in August of 2022. Inter Miami's Open Cup defeat to Houston on Wednesday ended a club record 9-match home unbeaten run in all comp, 6 wins, 3 draws. Miami's first home loss since a defeat to DC United June 3rd. NYC's won 2 straight for the first time since home wins over Nashville and FC Dallas in April. Most recent 2 wins have also come as at home, as NYC's just won 1 of their last 18 away matches in all comps, dating back to the conference final last year in Philly. They've lost 10 of those. Joseph came off the bench to score the 1 goal. He scored 9 goals as a sub over the last 2 seasons, second most of any MLS player in that time. The Bishop, Dejan Joveljic, for the LAG, has the most with 12. And Andres Jason has scored 3 goals in his last 6 matches, including scoring in NYC's win over Toronto on Sunday. He did not score a goal in any of his first 48 MLS appearances, including playoffs. But he scored 3 in his last 6 MLS matches. Once again, I know that if you're staring at the rest of the league, you're rooting for NYC. Don't know how that's going to happen. Also on the board at 7:30. We talked about New England and Charlotte. Jess earned us our explicit rating today. It is an ish show with what's going on in New England. And I think that New England's going to continue to fall further in the standings. I think that Charlotte can take this one. Even though the Revs are a minus 125, your draw's a plus 307, Charlotte's a plus 294. They're adjusting. If you look at our friends up north at Blazing Musket, the players are saying that they're adjusting to what Clinton PA wants them to do. So we will see when it comes to what Clint PA is trying to coach the Revs into in this matchup against Charlotte. Yeah, and Kefsey, you're right about Joseph. Joseph had the one. He should have had more than one. Made Messi lean forward. Yep. He did indeed. There was the one move. I think there was the one. Was it the one Houston goal where Messi was like, "Ooh"? But I think you have found what we had figured, that if you can get 30 solid minutes of him running around, then I think that's what you're getting. I know that Joseph and his representatives are thinking that he's worth more than that. But I don't think with Joseph, with all the rehabilitation that he has, the injuries that he's had to work from, I don't think you can rely on that day after day after day after day after day as a starting striker. I know this is a bit of an audition for him, either to stay in Miami or to find another place next season when they bring in Luis Suarez, maybe. But perceptions on both sides of this equation, I think, are different. Yes, he's putting up big numbers. That is not in dispute. Can he give it to you day after day after day after day in a starting position? I don't think so. Red Bulls in Chicago, juice boxes. Red Bulls are a minus 159. Draws a plus 301, and the Fire are a plus 415. This one is actually at Red Bull Arena. So we'll see what happens there with that one. I mean, I'm looking at Red Bulls here. You know, you look at it once again. Red Bulls in Chicago, once again, identical records coming in across the board. Both have 4 matches to go. Both at 8, 12, and 10. Red Bulls are the only thing separating it in goal difference. I think that this turns into an ugly one. I don't think that anybody is going to sit there and change things up when it comes to goals and goal difference. If it's anything, it's maybe 1-0. This probably could be a goalless draw, and none of us would sit there and think twice about it. Orlando and Montreal. Interesting for Orlando as they continue their climb, trying to get to keep second. Orlando City is a minus 164. They're one of the larger favorites of the weekend. Draws a plus 319. CF Montreal is a plus 413. And once again, Montreal, 30 games, 45 goals. But that's the thing. With Sirois' clean sheets, I think it's 11 clean sheets for Sirois. That means in 19 other games, they've given up 45 goals. So that's what? Almost 2.4 goals a match. So with Montreal, it's either feast or famine. They're 2-11-2 on the road. And I think that should say enough of it right there. I think Montreal is going to take it on the chin, 2-11-2 on the road this season. It's going to be a long day for Montreal. I think Orlando probably gets the Duke in that one, and they'll go to 54 points to keep the margins close in trying to chase after Cincinnati and try to keep their distance to try to get the 2 seed. Toronto and Cincy on the free side of Apple TV. Don't overthink this one. Toronto at home is a plus 289. Draws a plus 309. FC Cincinnati's minus $1.25 at BMO. Don't overthink it. Cincinnati's only given up 33 goals in 30 matches. Toronto at the bottom of the table, they've only scored 24. They've given up 48. So 18 over 30. 9 over 15. What is that? 3 is at 2.6. So it's a 1.6, but They've only scored 24 goals in 30 matches on the road this season. Toronto has not won. They are 0-11-4. Don't overthink that one. Don't overthink it. 8:30, Houston and Dallas. How much? What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet that Ben Olsen and Houston are still celebrating? As they should, don't get me wrong. Houston favored at home at a -122, draws a +272. FC Dallas is a +328. I want to see what this lineup looks like for Houston. I want to see who has recovered from celebrating a trophy. I want to see how much rotation they have. I want to see how much energy they've got. You're probably going to have some halftime subs. You're going to have folks going 45 and Ben Olsen making subs at half. Houston right now 4th in the West, but they're a part of that group. We mentioned how chaotic it is in the East. St. Louis in the West right now, they've clinched. They're at 53 points. LAFC and Seattle, identical records. They're at 45. 4 matches to go. Houston, Salt Lake, identical records. Houston's ahead on goal difference. 4 and 5. Vancouver and Portland. Vancouver right now has they have the same number of wins, so Vancouver's ahead on goal difference. 6 and 7. San Jose's at 41. Dallas is at 40. So 5 points separating 2 through 9 in the West. And then Kansas City, if you want to break it down a little bit, Kansas City is at 38 points. They're the first team out. Minnesota's at 37. Austin's at 35. LAG's at 34. So Kansas City is 4 points out of 6th, and they're currently in 10th. Minnesota is a win out of being in as opposed to not being in. So if you're like watching East Coast stuff, you're watching Eastern Conference stuff, watch the Western Conference stuff too. That's going to be crazy. But starting with Houston and Dallas, Dallas needs the win to stay above the playoff bar. But they're 3-7-5 on the road this year. Houston at home, 10-2-3. One of 2 teams in the West that have double-digit wins at home. All caps are the other. 10-2-3 at home. I don't know how much energy Houston has in this one. I would probably end up going draw. Minnesota United, San Jose Earthquakes at Allianz. Minnesota United, the Loons are a -127. Draws a +288. San Jose's a +319. Once again, we talked about Minnesota. A win out of the playoffs themselves to start things off. San Jose in 8th in that mess. They win, they could be as high as 4th if things go their way, but they are 3 points out of 4th. They're also a win from folks behind them, like Kansas City, for making it even more crowded. I don't trust Minnesota. I would trust the over on a total. I think it's a draw, if anything. And it doesn't help Minnesota a whole lot. Nashville and Seattle at Geodis at 8:30 on Season Pass. Nashville, basically even money, a -101. Draws a +249. Seattle's a +278. I don't know where Nashville is right now. I really don't. I think they've been kind of found out. But they're 8-2-3 at home this year. Nashville should win this one. Seattle, one of the few teams above 500 on the road this year. Salt Lake above 500, Seattle above 500, St. Louis above 500 in the West. Only one team in the East is above 500 on the road. And that's Orlando. 7-4-4. So 4 teams in Major League Soccer are above 500 on the road. Seattle is one of those teams. Nashville 8-2-3 at home. I'm thinking that Nashville gets found out. I think it's a draw. St. Louis and Kansas City. Kansas City needs this one in the worst way. In the I-74 Derby, or whatever they call it, whatever that interstate is. When the Cardinals and the Royals played in the World Series, I think they tried to call it the I-whatever series. St. Louis, at home, 10-3-2. We talked about how they are one of two teams in double-digit wins at home. Kansas City, once again, they need to win in the worst way, but they've only won twice in 15 matches this season on the road. I don't see it happening here. So Kansas City will still continue to struggle. They've got 3 matches to go in the regular season. This is not going to help them, I don't think, with the game in St. Louis. I think St. Louis gets the Duke there. Colorado and Austin. There was talk, at least from us, that if Vancouver lost to Colorado in the midweek, that you needed to immediately relegate Vancouver and bring up maybe Pacific or Forge or somebody. Cavalry or Pacific or somebody from the Western Conference, whoever the Western Conference champ would be in the Canadian Premier League. But they escaped with a 2-2 draw. Colorado got a point, people. They're a home favorite against Austin, understandably so, at a plus 127. Draws a plus 263, and Austin is a plus 194. At home, they're 2-5-8, meaning Colorado. On the road, Austin's 3-8-4. Austin needs this one bad if they're going to stay in the chase. But it does make you wonder with how Colorado performed in the midweek, how much they have left in the tank here on the weekend. Harsh caps are fun. Thank you, Kepsy. It's needed badly, but I don't know if Colorado can sustain, even though they are playing at home for the second time in a couple of days. I don't know if they can sustain it over 2 matches in a short period of time. I think Austin gets it done, and I think it adds more chaos and keeps Josh Wolf employed, at least temporarily, with his new technical director for until the end of the year. Then they'll still have the decision. Galaxy and the Timbers. Galaxy are a minus 101. And I'm right there with you, Kefsey. I'd like to do a Cascadia trip. Kefsey says also need to be able to go to an away game in Vancouver at some point at BC Place. Amen. LAG and the Portland Timbers. Galaxy are a minus 101 with B. Sharp up front. 37-year-old Billy Sharp. Hat trick. Who knew? Draw with Portland is a plus 293. Portland to win is a plus 235. Nico wanted the over, and he also wanted, what was it? So now I'm having brain lock. Nico wanted he wanted the over, and he thought that you would have a win in this one from Zombie Timbers because of what we've seen from them since the coaching change when they let go of Gio Savarese. Portland at a plus 235, Galaxy at a minus 101. I like the total in this one. I like an over starting at 3.5. I like that a lot. So looking at totals, 3.5 is a plus 138. So basically it flipped at 3.25. I don't know. Why would you ever give a total at a quarter? 3.5 your total, plus 138. It goes up from there. I'll take the plus 138 at 3.5. I think Billy Sharp could end up doing that on his own. But I'll take the 3.5 in that one. Wow. Do I want the plus 293? I don't think I'll touch either side, but I'll take the total. I'll take the plus 138 at 3.5. Late game Vancouver and DC United. DC United's traveling from one end of the planet to the other in a game that they need. I don't think they'll get it. I think Vancouver gets it. Vancouver is one of the sneakiest 42-point teams. I mean, they're above 500. At home, they're 7-3-4. BC Place, traditionally a very tough place to play. 4 matches to go. They win, they could be as high as second Well, with goal difference, it would be, fourth, or depending on what would happen. Third or fourth, what would depend with Seattle. But Vancouver wins, they're at 45 points. They're a part of that home discussion if they win with things falling their way and such. I think Vancouver gets it done just because of travel alone. Don't forget, folks, fix your fantasy teams, by the way, as we're getting down to it in the final games here of the season. I'm dangerously close to being relegated. I have never had a season this bad in the Pro Rel League, ever. I'm still where I am, traditionally middle of the pack in our league, but fix your fantasy teams. Whitecaps at a minus 133, I'll take it. DC on the draws a plus 227, draws a plus 332. It's changed as we've been talking about it, but I like the Whitecaps in this one. Then your one Sunday game, LAFC and RSL. LAFC's a minus 189, draws a plus 351. Chicho Arango on a homecoming is a plus 445. LAFC at home, 9-3-3, dangerously close to becoming another team that's got double-digit wins at home. RSL, consistent, 6-5-3. They're one of those three teams in the Western Conference and one of the four overall that are above 500 on the road. LAFC had Campeones Cup in the midweek. He had a first-choice lineup, didn't get first-choice results. Steve Cherundolo felt compelled to talk about officiating. I still think there's something wrong with LAFC. Can't quite put my finger on it, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I'll go draw, but once again, I'll take a total here also. Can't quite put my finger on it. There's just something not right. Totals, we'll start at 3.5. Plus 138. I'll take that. I'll take the plus 138 at 3.5. Not touching the game. 4.5 if I felt compelled. 4 is a plus 239. 4.5 is a plus 3.25. But I'll take the 3.5 at a plus 138 also. So I'll take that. Definitely will take that. So that's your look at what's going on in Major League Soccer this weekend. Sadly, we will not be talking about anything going on in MLS Next Pro from an Atlanta United 2 perspective. But we do have the opening round of those playoffs coming up. And we do have the Sporting and Austin match that is tonight. Quoting Benny Feilhaber, scared money don't make money. Sporting Kansas City is a plus 114. Los Verdos is a plus 183. Your draw is a plus 260. I like Sporting in this one. I like what Benny Feilhaber is doing at Sporting. So let's go Sporting Kansas City, 8 o'clock. You can catch that one on Apple TV. And then the rest of MLS Next Pro this weekend, once again. A great season for the Twos. Great news to see that both Sean Lanza and Aiden Torres were called up by the youth national team. The U.S. Youth National Team, very, very cool stuff there. And that'll be the next step in their careers. Fantastic that they get to represent the country. And we'll, keep an eye on all of that. Looking at stuff around, we were talking about the Premier League, the new Premier League deal with the lower divisions. Will Unwin and Paul McGuinness is offering the EFL an extra £358 million over 3 years, but they want extra EFL trophy games and parachute payments to stay. Cost controls are an issue as the EFL has talks with their clubs. Premier League presented the plan to increase financial redistribution by $358 million over 3 seasons to 25-26. EFL clubs would get an extra $88 million this year, extra $101 next year, extra $169 the season after. Continue to rise over the following 3 years of what would be a 6-year agreement. Championship clubs would get 75% of the money paid by the Prem, League 1 15, League 2 10. EFL clubs believe they're being offered 14.75% of net media revenue, well below the 25 they were looking for. Premier League argues the amount equates to about 21% once transfer levies and other payments are taken into account. EFL clubs presented with details of the deal at a general meeting in Derby. Premier League waiting for feedback from the EFL before returning to the clubs in form of a formal proposal. 72 EFL clubs would then vote on it. One of the caveats is that the U21 clubs be invited to play in the EFL Trophy. 15 are participating this season, but they've got to be guaranteed more matches. Another is that League One and League Two clubs must set aside part of their allocation for facilities, meaning it could not all be used for transfer fees or player wages. Premier League also insisting parachute payments must continue in the face of EFL opposition. EFL leadership feels there's obstacles to be resolved before a deal can be struck, relate primarily to the nature of cost controls to be agreed alongside an increase in redistribution. One particularly contentious element, according to The Guardian, believed to be the request that clubs relegated from the Prem be allowed to continue spending at higher relative levels than other clubs in the championship, something that second-tier clubs believe could, along with parachute payments, distort the competitive nature of the division. After this season, the money received by the EFL would be distributed on merit, the way that it is in the Premier League, meaning a higher club finishes, the more cash they'd receive. This season, League Two clubs would be expected to receive an extra £350,000. Championship clubs over the next 3 years would get an extra $10 million. Proposals have been brokered between the leadership of the leagues, so we'll keep an eye on all of that. Anthony is to be available for Manchester United's selection this weekend as he has restarted training. Once again, he's denied allegations of violence. He's going to rejoin training next week and be available to play. Looking at the juice boxes in the Premier League, by the way, Prem and Proper coming up later this afternoon. The Drew Dickinson Diatribe, otherwise known as the 3D, will be coming in as a part of that show. So keep an eye on that later this afternoon. And we'll go through everything. In the Premier League, you'll hear from some of the coaches and get you ready for the matchups this weekend. Looking at Premier League play and the juice boxes that are attached, you got a lot of action on Saturday, 8 matches, 1 on Sunday, 1 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday as they're trying to catch up. The Luton Town Burnley match on Tuesday, that is the makeup from the original match at Kenilworth Road when Kenilworth Road was not ready, and it is now going to be played on Tuesday. 8 matches tomorrow. Villa and Brighton. Brighton slightly favored on the road at a plus 150. 10 o'clocks, and there are 6 of them. Bournemouth, big underdog at the Vitality, hosting Arsenal at a minus 175. Everton, big favorite, a minus 164, hosting Luton Town at a plus 520. Manchester United is a minus 164, hosting Crystal Palace at a plus 474. Newcastle and Burnley. Newcastle at St. Mary's at a minus 294, hosting Burnley at a plus 820. West Ham hosting Sheffield United, big favorite. West Ham's a minus 227. Sheffield United, still with Paul Heckingbottom as manager, basically a plus 650. Wolves hosting Manchester City. Wolves are a plus 877. Manchester City's a minus 312. Captain Erling Haaland in your fantasy. 12:30 is your late game. It is Spurs and Liverpool. Spurs a plus 197. Draws a plus 311. Liverpool a road favorite at a plus 123. On Sunday, the one match, 9 o'clock in the morning, it is Nottingham and Brentford. Brentford a slight road favorite at City Ground at a plus 168. Forest is a plus 181. Your draw is a plus 230. Monday Night Football, Fulham and Chelsea. Chelsea's a plus 104. Fulham at Craven Cottage is a plus 287. Draws basically a plus 255. In that Tuesday match, we'll talk about it more early in the week, but Burnley's a plus 152 at Kenilworth Road. Kenilworth Road. Luton Town is a plus 197, and your draw is a plus 231. So those are your early notes when you're looking at the Premier League this weekend. We mentioned the minority stake sold by Fenway Sports Group. It's just to make sure that it is attached to debt. You'll hear from Kaveh Solokal and Prem and Proper about it. News out of Cameroon. Samuel Eto'o, police in Cameroon have opened an investigation into claims that Samuel Eto'o was a part of a match-fixing scandal. He's been president of the Cameroon Football Federation since December of 2021. He's accused of helping to fix matches in Cameroon's second tier back in July after a recording of him speaking to someone alleged to be Valentine Equain, the president of Victoria United and known as Bob Didi, was made public. According to Camfoot, Eto'o allegedly promised to promote the club from the second division by manipulating matches, a claim denied by the striker and by N'Quane, who has said it was not his voice on the recording. Police have confirmed in a letter that they have opened an investigation into alleged, quote, abuse of authority and corruption. Understood to have interviewed several key witnesses involved in the case. The investigation will also look into wider accusations of corruption at the Football Federation during Eto's tenure, which it believed could involve up to 40 people. On the recording, Eto is alleged to have informed N'Quane that there are things we can do, in quotation marks, regarding a game in which Victoria were beaten 1-0 in December last year, but you have to be very discreet, brother, quote, in quotes. Quote, don't worry, we'll give you your 3 points. We'll suspend the referee, end quote, he's alleged to have said. Victoria's nickname, Opopo, must go up to the first division. This is our goal. This is our federation. Victoria United will go up. Victoria went on to be promoted in April. Eto told Gazzetta dello Sport in June he'd been talking to a friend, someone who invests in football and wants to make his club one of the best in Cameroon. I just reassured him by saying that I would have done everything possible to avoid any refereeing errors against him. News comes after a group of Cameroon's football officials called on FIFA to take action against Eto after a series of public incidents, including a violent altercation with an Algerian journalist at the World Cup. The group that includes Pierre Semeng, president of the Professional Football League of Cameroon, have written a letter jointly addressing Gianni Infantino and CAF president Patrice Motsepe, questioning how the former striker has been allowed to continue, quote, to illegally impose himself on the FECAFOOT presidency, end quote. So you've got that involving Samuel Eto. Okay, now, Serie A. I meant to talk about this. Samuel Eto got something of an apology. Tuesday evening, Osimhen's agent Roberto Calenda posted to the 280-character app criticizing Napoli for what he described as the video mocking Victor, noting it had been belatedly deleted, added that he and his client reserved the right to take legal action against any useful initiative to protect Victor. Napoli's account is targeted at an audience who've already invested in the world of social media. And the club kind of apologized, but they didn't say they were sorry. They kind of apologized, but they didn't say that they were sorry about it at all in the apology. So, and Osimhen scored the other day, did not celebrate as a part of it. I still would like to know what's going on with the social media department at Napoli. I would like to know. Would really like to know. Napoli's 5th right now in the table. So, so no apology to Victor Osimhen. They apologized, but they didn't say they were sorry. It's probably the best way that I could phrase it. Once again, checking the papers before we go. And once again, thanks to everybody here for this week. Thanks to Jessica Charman coming on this morning. Thanks to Michael Parkhurst coming on this morning and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring and breaking everything down from their perspective as they continue to grow at Beyond Goals. Very, very cool. Harvey Barnes out until the new year with his injury, with his foot injury. They still don't know the full extent of it. Aston Villa, they are going to end their kit deal with Castor. Expected to agree to an early termination of the contract amid the furor of the club's, quote, wet look shirts that have prompted complaints from men's and women's players. The women are still apparently going to be playing with those Castor shirts. We mentioned the bribery case with Barcelona yesterday. Chelsea could be forced into selling Ian Maatsen after failing to make progress in contract negotiations. Avoiding the 3 and the 4 letter paper as we always do. Spurs facing a backlash from the fans after the club announced Thursday a multi-year partnership with Socios.com, the controversial fan token company. And Ukraine's FA has urged all European countries to boycott matches against junior Russian teams after UEFA's decision to reinstate them under U17 competitions. We mentioned yesterday how the Saudi Pro League is chasing after a league referees in the Premier League, paying them big wages, kind of like what they do with players. We mentioned yesterday from the Daily Star a little bit about our friends here at Scunthorpe. David Hilton's told the board he's going to be withdrawing funding from the club moving forward. We'll keep an eye on that. We mentioned Laurent, and that is the Ukrainian story is taking up legs on multiple papers. So once again, we'll keep an eye on that as well going forward. Checking in quickly with other places and seeing if there's any other news. I said, literally, I am scanning to sit here and say, Sheffield Wednesday, keep an eye on that. We were talking about ownership down here. It looks like they're not happy with Sheffield Wednesday's ownership. The fans and dispute with the owner and protesting fans. Keep an eye on Sheffield Wednesday. They got promoted. Now it's kind of fallen short. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. Manchester United, Lisandro Martinez has been listed out for 10 weeks with his injury. So obviously now 10 weeks puts you through October, November, and get you to Christmas. So just in time for festive fixtures when you play 3 matches in 7 days. So Lisandro Martinez will be keeping an eye on that. PSG is apparently set to earn the most guaranteed Champions League TV money despite never having won it. So you got that too. West Brom is looking for new ownership. Initial discussions for a £50 million takeover. So West Brom will keep up with ownership down here as we look into all of that. So once again, thanks for hanging out with us for another week of soccer down here. And thanks to everybody who, Kefsey, Ricky, and everybody who was in the comments this morning. We'll do it again on Monday. And once again, thanks to Jess. Thanks to Michael Parkhurst, Prem and Proper, coming out later this afternoon. And we will be back at it again, chasing after all the stories that are everything going on. Oh, yeah, before we go, I got to talk about this. We mentioned the Portland match. Sorry, I double clutched. I did. News from our buddy Ryan Clark, and it was not good news if you are a fan of Portland. Keeper Aljaz Ivacic has been suspended 3 games by Major League Soccer for using threatening language toward team staff. League will also take no further action on Ivacic's complaint against the Timbers for alleged abusive conduct and tampering. So from Ryan Clark at the Oregonian, Ivacic had filed a complaint against the Timbers last week, and that's apparently not going to be looked at any further. Going back to the top of the story, 3 games, fining him an undisclosed amount for using threatening language toward team staff. The exact nature of the incident that got Ivacic suspended is unclear, and a suspension of this nature is rare in Major League Soccer. He's going to miss the remainder of Portland's regular season schedule. Once again, the league's going to take no further action on the complaint filed with the MLSPA. Multiple sources confirmed to the Oregonian and Oregon Live and to Ryan Clark. He filed a complaint, Ivacic, against the Timbers last week for alleged abusive conduct and tampering. Confirmed as much to the Oregonian and Oregon Live on Saturday, but declined to go into further detail at the time. MLSPA declined to comment on the matter. Source close to Ivacic previously claimed retribution and dishonesty on the part of the Timbers, while a Timbers source responded by pushing back on the allegations and questioning Ivacic's commitment to the club. He did not appear in the squad for a win over Colorado Saturday, in which interim coach Miles Joseph made pointed comments on the matter. Quote, "You're either on the bus or off. You have to be good. You have to be a good teammate, and even if you don't play, you have to be a good teammate. Trained with the Timbers Tuesday. Didn't participate in the team scrimmage. Joseph had no further update on the status. Tuesday night, Ivacic spoke to the Oregonian about the nature of the complaint, was not yet aware of the looming suspension. Ivacic tells the Oregonian, quote, "For my first 3 years, I was treated poorly, never got a proper and fair chance, went through 2 surgeries that were not my fault. Despite all of that, I never declined to be on the bench and supported the team no matter what." Ivacic claimed the Timbers asked him to take a pay cut ahead of the 22 season in order to help with salary cap issues, with a promise from then GM Gavin Wilkinson that after a year, the club would reward Ivacic with a contract worthy of a starter. Ivicic said Wilkinson was fired and Ed Grabavoy was promoted to GM. Grabavoy's initial offer for the new contract was much lower than what Ivicic and Wilkinson talked about. Eventually, the club and Ivicic came to an extension agreement back in March. Regarding his alleged multiple trade requests, Ivicic claimed he'd only asked for a trade once after being benched July 1st. When Ivicic confronted Grabavoy about his playing time, Ivicic claims Grabavoy told him if he changed his agent, maybe things had changed for him on the field. Denis Selimovic previously represented Santiago Moreno, who requested a transfer from the Timbers earlier this season, walked it back publicly, changed his representation soon after. Additionally, Ivicic claimed that Grabavoy asked he leave the Slovenian national team early to return for a June 21 match against Chicago Fire. But after he left camp with Slovenia, Ivicic said he couldn't get in touch with anyone from the Timbers about flying him back. Ended up missing the Chicago match anyway. Timbers deny all the Ivicic allegations, declined further comment on the league suspension. So Ryan Clark had a busy day yesterday. And if you're looking for more details about the Dylan Butler estates, Outfield NYCFC has the update on that. Reece James is in trouble at Chelsea, apparently. Possibly, probably. So with what happened with Reece James and the FA, maybe if I spelled Reece correctly, with what's going on with him and Chelsea, he has run afoul of the FA, but Reece is also currently injured as well. So keep an eye on Reece James and Ben Chilwell, who are both injured right now. Chilwell looks like he's going to be injured for a while. So keep an eye on Reece James. All right, that'll do it. Now that I finally got up all the notes and finally looked at my notebook. But yeah, we'll be back at it again. And Jorge Sampaoli is now is looking for work. So keep an eye on all of that. Thanks for hanging out with us for another week here at Soccer Down Here. Thanks to all of you. And we'll be back at it again on Monday. And hopefully we can have conversations with one another about stuff. That's the official term. Since that is the end of the show, end of another week, thanks for hanging out with us. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha Platiano. We'll be back at it again on Monday.